take care of your succulents. Here we have 3 succulents that may be one of your take-home plants. We have an aloe, we have a graptopetalum, also known as leather leaf, and we have an Edithcolia, also known as Persian carpet flower. You can tell if a plant is a succulent if it has a very thick leaf, and it means it has this water reservoir already in the plant. Now you may get a plant that's different from this, but most succulents that you will get have basically the same care requirements. The main thing that you need to know about succulents is they really need to dry out in between waterings. You really don't want to overwater them. So succulents, you'll probably want to water them when it's very, very dry in your dorm room, maybe once a week. And the best way to check if you need to water, there are 2 ways actually. I would recommend when you first get your plant to water it very well and test how heavy it is. And that's going to be your maximum amount of water. So then you can just come up to your plant, pick it up, and if it feels quite light, it's ready for water. The other method is just to test it with your finger. You want to dig down past that soil surface a little bit, and if it still feels moist underneath and the soil sticks to your finger, probably a little bit more than this. Let's check this one. Oh yeah, that's quite moist. So that media is sticking to my finger. That is a wet enough plant, and it can dry out more before being watered again. While you want to provide as much light as possible to all of your plants, it is especially important for these succulents. They're used to being in an environment with a lot of sun, and so you'll notice that when they get more sun and more heat, they'll also dry out faster. So if you don't have as much sun, you'll probably be watering even less often. So put these guys next to your windowsill, by the radiator. It's all good. They want as much sun as possible. There are some signs that your succulents will give you that will tell you if you are underwatering it or overwatering it, or if there's something else wrong. One problem with under and overwatering is that the signs could be very similar to each other. The wilting of leaves could be that the plant is overwatered as much as it is underwatered. This happens for both succulents and non-succulent plants. For example, this plant is an aloe. It should have wonderful, flat, juicy leaves like this. But this aloe is curved and it's not as thick. So this, for a succulent, means that it's wilting. The question is it overwatered or is it underwatered? Well, this plant is also exhibiting some rot at the base. That means the roots are starting to rot, and that is why it is losing water from those leaves. If your plant is overwatered, even to this point where it's beginning to rot, don't worry. Take that plant out of the pot and clean off those rotted roots. Clean your pot and repot it in the same pot with new media, and it will be fine. Don't overwater in the future. All of your succulents will show some wilting if they are either underwatered or overwatered. This plant might be a little bit underwatered. It is losing its bottom leaves, and the leaves that are still on are quite weak. They are easy to bend. That's how you know that they are wilting for a succulent plant. If your plant is underwatered, don't water too much at the same time. Just water a little bit, a little more frequently. This last succulent is also telling you that it's a little bit underwatered. The wilt, though, is a little bit different in that these get just a little wrinkly. If they were nice and plump, you know that it's perfectly watered. A little wrinkly means it's a little bit wilted. For your first year plants, these are going to be 3 of your options for not succulent plants. So plants that are not storing as much water in their leaves as the succulents are. We have the Trimesia, which is a walking iris, the Rio, and Pothos, which many of you might already have in your home or your parents' home. So, if you have a little bit of a darker space that you need to keep your plants in, you're better off getting one of these. They will also love being on your most sunny windowsill, but they will dry out faster. So unlike the succulents, where we're trying to water them minimally, we'll probably be watering these a little bit more often if they are drying out and if they're in full sun. But they will tolerate a really good amount of shade. So if you have a shadier spot, these are a good choice. With these, just like the succulents, what you want to do is when you get your first year plant, water it very, very well, and then just test how heavy it is. The weight of the pot is going to tell you pretty well of how dry it is. If it's light, it's dry, water it. But we don't want to overwater. If you're not sure, then take your finger and stick it in that soil. And if it comes out covered in media, then it is moist enough, you don't need to water. If it comes out dry and if it feels dry, then you should water it. A great idea for these plants is to put them in a plate and fill up the plate with water. That way the soil will wick up that moisture and the plant will not get overwatered. So you can just have a regular watering regime by watering that plate below the plant. There are a few signs that your plant is not doing well. Maybe overwatered, maybe underwatered. One way to tell is that the tips begin to brown. If the tips of your leaves begin to brown, it's probably evidence that the watering regime is inconsistent. Maybe it's drying out a lot, and then you're watering a lot, and then alternating between those two systems. However, this is not a big deal, and that's okay. These plants can lose a lot of leaves and be completely healthy. What you're looking for is making sure that there's new leaves coming out. This is a good example of old leaves that are being shed. When old leaves turn brown like that, that's okay. Go ahead and take those right off. You are now all set to grow your first year plant in your dorm room. Welcome to Wellesley and happy growing.